Yep.
And they would have kept her in there.
We had a lot of fun. That's what I told him. We came down there and nobody had any money.
No.
We had a lot of fun. And I said,
And I liked Uncle Jim too.
oh yeah.
He was.
Now that's your dad?
My dad.
See, I never met him.
Never met him.
No.
Well, it's too bad because he was a hell of a nice guy.
Yeah.
He was terrific.
Was he funny?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun together.
He likes to drink a little bit.
Yeah. Well, sport. He never.
Smoked
Never
too.
to that much. Never to that excess. I didn't think.
No. His wife would have.
A few times we invited a little.
Did you work with him on the railroad?
Yes.
Is that how you ended up
Yeah.
up there?
He got me the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody kind of comes up to the sometimes. Goes
Yeah,
to
he called me one night and I got on the train the next day. I left school.
Oh, you did?
Before I graduated, yeah, they were sore still.
High school?
Yeah, they couldn't keep me from graduating.
Yeah.
Well, it was pretty important to get a job at that time.
Sure.
There weren't that many of them.
Do you remember Uncle Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did they used to spend summers down here at all? Or did you go up there?
Well, we spent, I would say, a considerable amount of time together. One of the things I remember was he had a 1930 Chevrolet.
Yeah. Worked at Heine. Didn't you go to Heine?
Yeah.
What's his face's gas station?
Yeah.
Pump gas.
I can't remember his name either.
Heine, anyway, the pump gas.
I can remember him.
Yeah.
But you lived on Camp Street there, and we used to go out to Lions Park,
Right.
down to Battery Park.
O'Donnellswood.
Still there.
Oh, that's still there. O'Donnellswood's is not golf course. But Uncle Don and
Yeah, we
he
used
was
to.
like their little brother.
Yeah.
Bob.
Who? You were the younger one, Bob?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was, they spent a lot. Those kids used to come up to our house a lot.
Yeah, we could ride up free on the train.
Come up on the train.
Because you worked for him?
But they came on the doodle bug.
Yeah,
What was a doodlebug?
that was a gasoline operated engine. It was
Passenger train?
passenger train that made a mail and passenger run every day.
That's
From where?
Up and back. From here, I think, just from here to Sandusky.
Yeah, and I don't even know where when it came in. I don't know where it went when it got there. I guess to the depot. I don't remember. Or where you went to catch it. Did it come to Bellevue?
No.
No.
Came right into Sandusky.
Yeah. It was a good way to go because it was cheap.
Yeah, it was free. We didn't cost anything.
They come up and spend the summer a lot of time.
Was Cedar Point open then?
What was that?
Cedar Point?
Cedar Point was open.
Oh, geez, yes. We just go there and write everything for a nickel.
Did you take the boat over?
Yeah, 50 cents you can stay all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 9 more. It's $30 a pop.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's not like it used to be anymore. They had a big, 125 years old this year. They had a big thing on the TV the other night. Just about what it was like when you were there.
I think the last time I was there about 10 years, maybe 12.
Oh, God, it's 5 times bigger now.
We went down, stayed in a campground down there.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a girlfriend in Sandusky?
Never. Nah.
Too
I was
busy?
too bashful.
You were bashful.
Yeah. Really, I was.
Where'd you get your nickname?
Remember him though. Eleanor remembered Bob.
Because he's so handsome.
She's in New York City. She's an artist.
Oh, is that
Been
right?
there for 35 years.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, she remembered you. She asked me about you.
How'd you get your nickname?
God, I think about it.
Eh?
I have no idea.
Okay, hold on a
They
second.
just started calling me Frog for some ungodly reason.
60 years ago?
I think, at least that.
Son, which one?
This is my oldest son,
What's his full name?
Robert Bruce Witwer.
When was he born?
Yeah, he was born on March the 7th.
You don't have to tell the year.
I don't even remember what it was.
Where was he born?
Well, he was born in a little house on Street.
Is it still there?
Oh, sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
How old would it be now?
Oh, that house?
Yes, it was 115 years old.
Go through it, Ma.
And it's been, how long,
Well, it's been 50 years since I lived there.
In 1944 we moved away.
How, what kind of kid was he, Aunt Jane?
Well, when he was a baby, nobody, you've heard people come up to people and say, is it a boy or a girl? They didn't have to ask.
They knew it was a boy?
Because he always looked like a little man. He did.
Yeah.
The girls used to put a little fancy bonnet on him because he looked so funny in it, you know. And then he was just...
That explains your sensitive side.
And then they just died laughing, and he laughed too, you know. And I think there's 26 great-grandchildren.
What's your birthday?
My birthday's October the 3rd, born 1905.
That make you this year?
If I live to October the 3rd, I'll be 90, and I fully intend to do it.
Are you still working?
Sure, I'm working. And everybody says, and everybody that's lazy is basically them that never work too much.
Right.
Well, now, you should be resting. I said, I'm going to do that as soon as I don't.
That's right.
Because I'm dead, I'm going to do that.
Tell us about your brother Kenneth.
You which?
Uncle, you know, your brother.
My brother.
Uncle Si.
My brother, and he and I were very close because my sister and I never knew this, so we went to see my son in California, but then coming back on the plane, she told me she was scared to death when he lived in the country of horses and cattle. And I was
That was
always...
my mother.
Yes, and I was always out. My brother was 14 months older than I was, but he did not like to drive the corn plow, and somebody had to drive, and so I did this. And one year my dad was sick and bad, and we had this black guy that was doing the work, and I drove the corn plow for him.
Well, your brother disappeared.
You have no idea what we're talking about, because you drove the horses, and the corn in them days were planted like 3 feet apart, and you would drive the horse so it didn't step on the young corn.
Well, then he left after your family split up and joined the army.
Yes, he joined the army and went to Texas, and then he came back to Belfast, and he stayed with me 8 months.
Yeah.
And then one morning, he got up and he said he was going to go. He didn't know where. He had lived in San Antonio, Texas in the army, and he had also lived in another state, and he wanted to go to South America. That's what he really wanted to do. And he said, if you know where I am, you'll be the only one that does. And if you don't know, you can figure nobody knows.
And when
anybody did.
So he was gone for 40 years?
He's gone for 50 years before we ever contacted him again.
And what year was that? 1982?
I don't know. I don't
Well,
remember.
he had his birthday party up there
Yes, no.
in Sandusky.
We had.
My mother was mad at him.
She was always mad at him because
She never got in touch
she
with his
didn't
little
know.
sisters.
She didn't know what went on.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I told her one time, I said, you didn't live here. People didn't come up to you and say, hey, you're old man. He said, well,
Yeah.
this one man said to him, your old man lives the biggest heart
Yeah.
in 7 states. And he said, and I mean that in one way, because she weighed 200 pounds.
Yeah. Yes, she's kind of.
And then they started bootlegging and all
Yeah,
this.
I know.
And there was always, somebody was always right there taking it.
Well, anyway, he was going, what, 50 years?
On 50 years.
Yeah.
And then,
You found him in Terre Haute, Indiana.
and he called me.
Because of Debbie.
Yeah.
And Debbie get in touch with the Social
Yeah.
Security and they found him.
Yeah, Debbie, my granddaughter lived with me. How long did she live with me? Several years.
Yeah.
And she found him.
And she said, you've always been nice to me, and I'm going to do something nice to you. I'm going to find your brother. And she wrote to Social Security. She wrote the letter to him and told him why she wanted to find him. She wanted to find him because I was always nice to her, and she knew I would like to see him.
Right.
And Social Security wrote back to her and said, they would not give out his address. That was against the law. But they forwarded the letter she wrote to him, and he called me. On the phone.
What, now when he called you, what did he say?
Well, he always called me Jane, of course, and he said, Jane, he said, you know who this is? And I said, I think I know who it is.
Oh.
And he said, it's Kenneth L. Jones.
Yep.
And I said, so I said, where do you live? And he told me, and I said, are you married? And he said, yes. And I said, well, let me talk to your wife. But he said, oh, that'll all come later. And then he said, where do you live? And I said, well, you know where we lived on Sandusky Street? I said, it's right on out, off of Sandusky, but it's a new section of town. And I gave him my phone number. Well, he had my phone number, but he had my address, though. And so he said that they would come. And I said, well, if you can't get me, because I was working a lot of times 7 days a week then. I said, if you can't get me, I gave him Michael Ann's number, but he couldn't remember her name.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't have it written down, so he wrote me a card. And I was up the lake working, and Pam was here, and Michael Ann, and they come up the lake.
Oh, they brought him up?
And they brought the card. And you said, here's the card. And this was we couldn't get through to him at first because he had given us the wrong zip code.
Oh, yeah.
The wrong area code.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said it was 800, and it was 812. And so then Pam called the operator, and she got the number.
But what did my mother say when she called her?
Well, so I called her up that night, and I said, well,
Guess
you
who
will
called?
never guess who I was talking to. And she said, well, who was it? And I said, Kenneth L. Jones. She said, oh, you're lying. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, well, I'll tell you one thing. He never had, he never would work. And she said, and so I don't want anything to do with him. I said, I don't know what you're talking. He always worked.
She was mad at him.
Oh yeah. Well, she said he didn't care about us to contact us, but I knew why he didn't. I knew why he left.
Yeah, she didn't know. Yeah.
But she did say years later. Well, she said, I guess I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I said,